Welcome to the first regularly scheduled Village of Corrales Council meeting. It is 6:30. So at this point, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we are going to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you so much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to now take the roll call of our governing body members. Councilor Lucero?
Here.
Councilor Knight?
Here.
Councilor Parker?
Here.
Councilor Waldman?
Here.
Councilor Murray?
Here.
Councilor Burkett?
Here.
Thank you. And I don't know, Councilor Parker, if you'd like to explain why you are in fact here and where you are zooming in from.
Well, actually, I'm not even zooming in from anywhere exotic. I was supposed to be 6,000 miles away, but the pandemic and increased controls where I was headed prevented me from going, or I would have been 10 days in a hotel room waiting to leave. And it's probably a good thing I didn't go, because I have come down with a nasty little cold. So now you're stuck with me today. So sorry that you had the extra meeting for it, but I appreciate the common courtesy extended to make that happen. So anyway.
No problem, Councilor Parker. And I think I speak for every member of the governing body that we're okay with not having that on the agenda tonight. We're working on it. So the first thing we are going to do is approve our agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, let's everyone raise their hand to signify if you approve the agenda. All in favor, aye, with raising their hand. Any noes? All right, thank you. The agenda has been approved. We're going to move on to D, reports. We're going to start off with Administrator Curry and his administrator's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Council. First thing I'd like to do, as we always do, is get an update on COVID from Tanya, please.
Yeah, well, that was a good sound effect for that.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Administrator Curry. You guys can see on the news that COVID, Omicron, is making its way through the United States, and New Mexico is no exception. However, they do not think that we're totally Omicron yet. Probably this week, by next week, we'll be 100% Omicron. They did know you can't get any of the other monoclonal antibodies anymore, only strovimumab, because the other two do not work. Let me give you a brief update on Corrales. We are at 90 cases for the month today, well over our highest total ever. We've been averaging 9 cases a day almost the whole time. The state positivity rate has been climbing steadily since the first part of the year. It was started on January 3rd at 17.8%. We're now at 26.2%. And the one-day Sandoval County average is 20.16 for positivity rate. We got 220 cases today in Sandoval County and 9 cases in Corrales. Death rate is still up. Now, death rate lags behind from our last surges, and that does not appear to be different with Omicron. I'm sure there's people on here that know that getting testing is very, very hard. The website does have updated sites for testing. There are places you can pay. There's the vault test that you can order. And I do recommend, if you are out and about in the world, you get a vault test ordered. Early in the morning or late at night is the best time to order them. So if you get sick, especially if you're one of those people who needs treatment, because you need that positive test. Presbyterian is taking at-home lateral flow or antigen tests, but I will tell you, I know plenty of people that those are negative on.
Turn it off.
Until they got their PCR test in. There is a very limited number of both Paxlovid, which is an oral antiviral, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but the state does all the time, strovimumab, which is the one monoclonal antibody that works. Very limited supply. I do have the resources on the website as well, because I've also had people call me up and their providers don't know how to do referrals, and they also don't know how to access the pharmacies that have it. So that is up on the website as well, but you're welcome to call me. The other thing I learned today is, before I get to that, hospitalizations are up again today, 66 to 584. We are stretched. The nurses are stretched. I'm going to start with nurses and respiratory therapists because they're with the patients all day. So please, please don't go to the hospital to get a COVID test unless you are extremely ill. Then you, shortness of breath, chest pain, pain in your calves, those kind of things, you do need to go to the hospital. The state today on one of my meetings said, if you've got runny nose, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, any of that, and you can't get a test, you need to presume it's COVID. I'm getting patients with all ranges that have only had a runny nose and a little sore throat and swore it was allergies till they got their test back. So to protect others, please, please think of that if you can't get a test, that it could be, and increase your masking. Please wear your KN95s as a minimum. If you can't find a KN95, wear a 2 cloth, put a filter in it. N95s are still available at Lowe's. I personally, when I'm vaccinating the little kids, because they're screaming and, you know, but most of us wear an N95 with a KN over it. So I'll be happy to sit for questions.
Tanya, this is the mayor. May I ask you a question about getting a vault test? You used to be able to go up on the New Mexico website and get one. Is that possible now, or where are you suggesting people obtain one?
You can go up on the website and you go to testing and go there. But if you go to the Village of Corrales website and you go to COVID-19 resources, the vault test link is directly there. You want to make sure you go through the link or Google vault test New Mexico. It's got to be vault test New Mexico with the pretty picture of New Mexico landscape on it. Otherwise, you're going to be asked for a credit card.
Okay.
They have limited our number that we're getting in per day, because we're one of the only states that pays directly for this. But I did find out 7 in the morning, 11 at night. I've been able to get people who couldn't get them. I've been able to get them ordered for them. They will take your insurance information. If you don't have insurance, the state will cover it.
Thank you. Yes, Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor, Commander Latin, thank you for your undying support for this and your work you're doing. But I noticed you mentioned the amount of doses given to kids 5 to 11. How are we doing about the teenagers as well? I mean, are they being lumped in with the adults now?
They are being lumped in with the adults. Pfizer 12 plus is all of them. So I could pull those numbers up. The state.
That's okay. I mean, I was just curious.
I'm getting so the 12-year-olds just came in and my phone was blowing up. And one of the issues was this Pfizer has changed its formulary, and I'm so happy because my hands hurt. So Pfizer now has a purple, gone from a purple cap where we have to take diluent and mix it and then draw it to a gray top. So that comes pre-mixed, still gets stored in my ultra low until I move it to a fridge, but it comes pre-mixed. In the state, well, the federal government did not want providers who had purple top ordering gray top at the same time because they were afraid someone might mix it with diluent. I mean, I'm carrying 4 vaccines as it is, but you know, so I had to wait till I ran out. I ran out completely of Pfizer on Friday afternoon, which was fine because I got a shipment in today and opened up our normal Wednesday and it's full already. So parents have been really actively seeking that 12 to 15-year-old. And the other big one is the 12 to 15-year-olds that are immunocompromised now fall in with adults and will get a 3-dose prime series with a 4th booster. And the 5 to 11-year-olds, which I thought was wonderful, they will get a 3-dose prime day 1, day 21, and day 28, because we've had a lot of actual child transplant and immune compromise come through. So they'll get a 3-dose prime as well.
So are we taking everybody who might be 5 to 11 or just within the village?
Everybody.
Okay, good.
We gotta vaccinate the world. If they'd send me to some of these other countries to vaccinate, I'd go vaccinate there, so we could try to stop these variants.
Thank you.
Any other questions from counselors for Commander Latin? Okay, well, thank you so much, Commander. And if it's not clear, the message is please get vaccinated. If you're vaccinated, get boosted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Continuing on with that, Mayor, just so that the counselors are aware, we worked remotely as we could last Friday. And as this Omicron continues to burn through the village, we may choose to go remote as we can with very little notice. But we did go last Friday. We were back in the office yesterday at full strength, but we're particularly giving consideration to the administrative area, planning and zoning, and the courts, where we are, and the library, where we're in closed and confined spaces almost all day long. So just be aware of that, so that if you do call over there and you get a delay in response, we'll put it up on the web if we do go remote, so that everybody is aware of it and notify the council. Also, I wanted to report that coming next month, our next meeting has been promised now for not quite a year, but almost, we'll be presenting to you in the form of a resolution, a compensation analysis that will be updating. The last time that there was a compensation analysis and resolution addressing pay scales was in 2016. So it's now 2022 and we are officially past due, and we've been working on it, I think, very diligently. We've had the help of an outside associate who has great HR experience, and we'll be working on that and fine tuning it right up until the next meeting, but it will be on the agenda. And I'm very pleased with the way it's headed, and I hope the council, when you see it, will feel the same thing. The next thing I wanted to talk about, and the mayor may want to jump in on this a little bit, but the mayor has been invited, and I'm going to attend with her, the mayor's infrastructure conference that is being sponsored by the governor and others this coming Friday. And what they've essentially asked us to do, there's 3 people that we're going to be addressing and their staffs. The person who's heading up this effort is former mayor of Albuquerque, Marty Chavez, and he'll be handling a lot of all this infrastructure and other types of money that is coming down from the federal government. On the water side of it and on the wastewater side of it will be Mike Hammond, who the governor has put in that position and will be working primarily in water areas. But Mike, as you all know, is a resident of Corrales. I've had the opportunity to speak with him since he's gone into that position. And so he's excited that we're going to be coming with a strong proposal. The other gentleman that's going to be helping with the distribution of money and organizing things is a gentleman by the name of Matt Schmidt. And he's been assigned broadband, which is a very broad content there, talking about broadband. But I think one of the things that I've found in talking with some of these folks is that they, like us, they're getting into this and they're not quite sure how their organization is going to work. They've got an office right now that's maybe out by the airport. Somebody's going to be working out of a closet initially on the 4th floor of the roundhouse near the governor's office, but they are be asking for input from all of the communities around the state. And that's why it's called the Mayor's Infrastructure Conference. And the message that the mayor has been given quite clearly is go big or go home. So we're working off the ICIP list, which you all have seen, which is extensive over a period of years. And we're asking our folks, the department heads, to come with proposals that fall in with what they proposed before or add to that. And again, we've emphasized go big or go home. So the areas we're looking at here in the village are wastewater. We're also going to be looking at broadband and trying to figure out and define how broadband would be most helpful within the village. And as we look at going back to wastewater, as we look at that, one of the things that I know the people who live in Corrales who have a well oftentimes they're very proud of having that well and they want to have that well protected. And so as we look at wastewater or sewer systems or collection systems, the thing that we try to keep in mind from an environmental point of view, which will fall into the area of Marty Chavez, is that we are trying to protect the groundwater and drinking water. And in New Mexico, the largest source of groundwater pollution is from septic tanks. So the simple thing is you can protect the groundwater better by getting septic tanks out of the ground and having a reasonable sewer system. So that'll be one of the things that we're talking about, but also broadband and other areas. For instance, in our Parks and Recreation Department, we've got bond money that we're going to be spending on a new gymnasium. We're looking at that and how we can expand that. We're also looking at things like the old Jones House and a performing arts center and how we might want to add to that or build that up. So what we're hoping after we go through this exercise and we understand what kind of structure that we'll all be working in, we're hoping that we can come forward after this first go around with the things that we'll be putting up to them and we're working on right now for this Friday meeting, is that we're going to ask the governing body and especially the governing body, but the residents of Corrales to become part of the team so that we're speaking with one voice as we go forward, trying to convince the state to fund these projects, because this is an opportunity of a lifetime if they are truly going to allocate this money. As many of you know, there was a big dispute between the legislature and the governor as how they were going to allocate monies. And now there's even more monies that have come in. And so this process, the mayor's conference on infrastructure, will certainly be the start that we're looking for to go big or go home. So we're definitely going to go big. And I don't know, Mayor, if you want to add to that, but that is something that once we figure out how this process is going to work, we all want to join together as a team and really push these things together for our community.
Yes, I would just echo that. This apparently it's just literally a tsunami of money. And I've also been our congressional representative has reached out because of course there's federal monies. They want to try to help with how they're going to get the money down to us. So I will say, I think right now there's a certain amount of confusion and a little bit of angst over how we're going to get this giant amount of money into the correct spigots and down to the municipalities for the infrastructure projects that we all know New Mexico desperately needs. So we're hoping maybe we'll get a little bit of clarity on Friday, but I can assure you that then I am really hoping that the members of the governing body, that we can move forward kind of as a team, and we'll figure out, which projects we really seem to have the most juice between the big ones that we've discussed that come out of a general consensus among us over the years, but now we have an opportunity to really go big and perhaps get some of these large projects actually funded and completed. So everybody is scrambling right now. We got no notice of this until almost end of day on Thursday. So we've been working pretty hard to try to look like we really are on top of this, and we'll see how well that goes over on Friday if we have an opportunity to speak. And then we're going to keep up with the czars of these different areas and making sure we're on top of it. And I think we're going to need the efforts of every member of the governing body to make sure we can get something done. So I appreciate what I hope will be help in a united effort to get some money. Thank you. Really to get these projects done, right? So thank you. Ron?
Mayor, I think that's all I have for this evening. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, I don't see any at this time, so we're going to move on to the counselors forum. This section is for information purposes only, not for discussion and debate, to inform the governing body of an issue or concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during the business session. Counselors? Counselor Murray?
Thank you, Mayor and Councilors. So I'm going to try to be brief about this. I would like to see that the administration take a look at our committees and see what's active and what's not active, and to see if those people who are on those committees, if they're still willing to serve, if they haven't done anything in the last 5 or 6 months or so. Also, I'd like to ask that along with your suggestion for ideas for go big and go home or go whatever, ask our committees and our commissions for projects. Have them develop some kind of proposal and come back to us within 90 days and see if we can be shovel ready. Because I think that's going to be one of the big issues, is whether we can put something together and get it out there in a short enough time so we can get something done with it. Also, I'd like an update on Main Street, see where they're at. And I'd also like to have a discussion on the LGIP money for the January 25th meeting. So we can have a discussion about how we're going to work with that too. And then last but not least, is there any way we can get a memorandum of understanding with Albuquerque about 311 complaints so that maybe we can, we're not going to get put aside, if we call in on something that's happening in Albuquerque, maybe vice versa. Maybe they got complaints about us too, who knows? But anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Burkett.
I'd just like to add one thing to Councilor Murray's comprehensive list. For 2 years, we've been discussing crosswalks for horse crossings. I want to just see if we can get an update where we are with DOT on that conversation. It's certainly not going big, but I'd like to see something small get done as well.
Understood. And there is a regularly scheduled DOT meeting. I think it's next week. Is that correct, Ron?